All right, so the first one, it's in general form. The leading coefficient, which is A, is positive, so expect this to happen, right? It's also narrow. It's another. So right away, you can just tell by looking at it what to expect, right? I graphed it already. This is a standard window. I'm going to chase the curve a little bit up here. I don't know, I'm going to go 50 or something like that. You see a bit more of it, but this one never crosses the x-axis, which is not, it should not surprise us. So state the vertex of this equation. You just go right, second trace. In this case, it's min. If you did max, it's going to try, but it's not going to find it. It should land here, right, your cursor. So in this case, it would be 0.83, 5.92. Okay, so you get a mark for that if you have keystrokes. So all I need to see is second trace min or something that tells me what you're pressing. How many x-intercept does this parabola have? None, right? You don't need to explain or anything like that, so 1 mark for that. State the range. This one actually, right, goes to infinity like that, so we're basing it on this value right here. So y is greater than or equal to 5.92. That's one way of doing it. Or you go 5.92 to infinity, okay? Square brackets, round brackets. So either one gets you the mark. State the axis of symmetry. That is the equation of the axis of symmetry. That is given to us by the x value of the vertex. Okay, it is a line that cuts through, right, like this. It goes through the vertex. State the y-intercept. You can use your calculator, or you can just state 0.8. Because this is in general form, I know that that is my y-intercept. If you forgot, second trace value, let x equal to 0, and you get 8 there as well. So 5 marks for the first 5 questions. Let's keep going to the word problems. Okay. All right. So I'm going to turn this equation off. I have them both on my calculator. I don't know, did I talk about this? You can type everything you want in here, but only if the equal sign is highlighted will it actually graph it. So let's say you have like 3 and you don't want to see them all. You can just turn them off that way. So I'm going to graph this one, and it's right here. So I'm going to do a zoom standard. That is pretty good. Ideally, let's shave off a little bit here and shave off a little bit here as well, just so we see more of this quadrant. And I can also shave off a bit here. So instead of x max 10, I'm just going to make that 5. Right? So this is probably a better look at it. And so what's the maximum height reached? Maybe before we start, we know that t is your time and t is on the right side. So that's my x variable, and height is my y variable every single time. Okay? What's the maximum height achieved? That's the vertex. You go find it. Max, right? Left, right, enter. And so that's 1.02, 7.10. 1.02, 7.10. That's not the answer just yet. Okay? That's second trace max. Okay? Second trace max to get that. And the maximum height is 7.10 feet. Okay? That's what I really want to see as well. But I do like to see the keystrokes, like how did you get that number? Okay? So let's say you got this one wrong, but you're fairly confident you did this. You went second trace max, and you just get a different, you lose 1 mark right away because we're assuming you typed it in wrong or something went wrong. But then from there on in, we'll just honor whatever you got moving forward, as long as you show your work. How high is the ball after 2 seconds? That's basically saying, hey, if time is 2, what is your height? What is the y variable? And that calls for second trace value, x is equal to 2. Okay, that's what that calls for, second trace value, because anytime you know the x value, you want to use that function, not 0, sorry, 2, right? And so that is 2.4 feet. So if I see that clearly indicated that that's the answer, you get the mark there. At which time or times is the ball 3.5 feet above ground? Let's answer that first. So you know your y variables, which is 3.5, your y value I should say. So you graph it, and it happens twice in this case. So second trace 5. To find it once, you just go close enough, 3 times enter. So the first one is 0.1630, and the reason I'm doing 4 decimals is because I'm gonna have to subtract them shortly. So you go to the other one. That is 1.8778. Okay, so 1.8778. So if you select it, if all you have is that, seconds and seconds, right, because the time, okay, I will give you 1 mark already for this part, but question 8 is going to be worth 2 marks in total. That's the only one that's worth 2, as well as the graph. So it says how long is it at or above 3.5? Remember, at or above. So when you subtract 2 times, you're finding that cap, the time spent there. So we're going to go delta t. We subtract t2 minus t1. And I'm just going to give you the answer there. It is 0.16, right? Is it 16? 0.16? Seconds. Okay. So that's your, so you get a mark for finding them individually and then a mark for subtracting to get your time above. Okay. At which time or times is the ball 1.8 feet above ground? You just change your 3.5 to 1.8. And in this case, it's only once. Okay, this one, this intersection here, if you zoom in, it's on the left side of the y-axis, right? That's negative. If you don't believe me, just do a zoom in, or you find it and you'll, right? Regardless, it is slightly over to the left side, right? So there you know for sure. Zoom out. Zooming out is kind of tricky. So I'm just going to go zoom standard for now. I'm just going to leave it at that. But it's only happening once. So second trace 5. I only want that one. So that's 2.06. 2.06 seconds. And how did I find that? I let y2 equal a 1.8, sorry. And I went second trace 5. I know it's very crowded here. I also forgot the keystrokes up here. I forgot to mention that, so I'm going to go y2 is equal to 3.5, and then I went second, trace, intersect. So you will, every time you forgot keystrokes, put a K there. K, circle it, that's keystrokes. Okay? And then we're only going to take off 1 full mark for the whole AC today. What is the starting height of the ball? It is 2, right? 2 feet. So it's there where it's happening, so you want to stay 2 feet. How long is the ball in the air? Well, we have to find out when it hits the ground, right? So we need to figure out, we're going to let y2 equal a 0 and go second, trace 5. So I'm letting y3 equal a 0 in this case. And it's happening right there. Find that intersection. And that's 2.22. So 2.22 seconds. If you don't want to state the coordinate, that is fine. What's the domain of this situation? Domain is from time 0 to 2.22. That's when it, right, when the ball lands on the ground. So just 1 mark for the domain, 1 mark for the range. The range is, it does touch the ground, right? So that's as low as it gets, and the highest point is given to me by the vertex, which I know is the 7.1 there. 7.1 is the highest. So that's your domain and range, 1 mark for each. And now the graph, right? So I don't know where you were able to get that. I'm going to try to do it here. I think it's a little small, to be honest, but I think we can make it work as long as the scale is good. So this will be time in seconds. This is height in feet. Okay. And I need to make sure I go all the way to 7 here. So I'm going to go 2, 4, 6, 8. And I need to go all the way, sorry, not 7. I only need 2.22 right here. So it's a bit overkill. It works, it would technically work, but it's going to be too small. So let's use something, this would be 1, this would be 2, 2.5, 3. So 2.22 is right here on my graph. Here I need to go all the way to 8. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And you're starting at 0, 2. After 1.02 seconds, you reach that maximum height of 7 point. That's about right there. And then you just connect the dots, right? And then your equation, which is negative 4.9 t squared plus 10t plus 2. Okay. So how are we going to grade this? I would say labels. If you are missing one label at all, you take off half. If your scale is off, you take off 1. If the shape is way off, which most of you should not have an issue with that, you also take off 1. But other than that, you get 2 marks for that today, for the graph having all the components that need to be there. Okay. So if the scale is off, -1. If the shape is way off, like the points aren't where they're supposed to be, that's -1. Labels, take off half for each label missing. Okay. So we are, if you count this, if you go 1 to 14, that'd be 14, but we gave this extra, this is 16 total. 16 is the total for this AC here. Make sure your name and last name is on there. And we're going to give this one more go tomorrow, all right?